Hey folks, I'm Smyth, bringing you weekly videos about how to be successful at a Fortune 500 company. This week I'm going to share my low-tech solution to finding a high-tech job. So stay tuned. Wasn't that an amazing slow motion montage of a binder? In today's video, I'm going to share a summary of the system I developed to find a job in Silicon Valley after spending 10 years in the oil business. So if you're struggling like I did to get off the start line, this structure is not only going to help you take those initial actions, but it's going to help you summarize and translate your experience. So let's get into it. So let's talk about why a binder in the first place. First, it will really give you something to do and then eventually something to build upon. This process will likely take 6 to 12 months, and I think a binder is a helpful tool to help you build a portfolio of material. Secondly, it really gives you a hard copy that you can bring to interviews, and that's helpful for a couple of reasons. First, you can reference material if you have a portfolio. You can also use the binder to study before your interviews or even when there's short breaks in between them. The last reason I think a binder is a great way to go is that it shows that you're prepared. This was something that was mentioned to me multiple times after I got hired at Tesla. So let's talk about what's in the binder. I really broke it down into two sections. The first is really getting to know yourself, and the second part is getting to know the company, industry, and even the people you'll eventually be working with. So let's talk about the first section, getting to know yourself. I think the resume is something I won't talk a lot about. I think there's a lot of information out there. I wouldn't overthink it too much. It's important, but don't over-index on it. I see a lot of people invest huge amounts of time on the resume. Spend a couple of weeks, get it done, and then continue to refine it as you get additional feedback. The few things that really helped me, I think, stand out was I built a portfolio. It was so hard to explain what my job was in the previous industry I worked in. Making a portfolio, which was basically a graphical representation of what my experience was, and bringing that to an interview and being able to show images of the type of projects I worked on, the equipment, the designs that I did, were really helpful to be able to translate that into experience. And bringing a hard copy, you can't always bring up a presentation to be able to explain it, especially in an interview, but you can flip open a binder, or I had a printout of that portfolio with me, and it really helped facilitate the discussion. Besides a portfolio, the second thing that most people don't often do is to summarize and then translate your experience. And so this is separate from a resume. I literally spent dozens of hours doing this exercise. And so sitting down, I probably summarized around 100 different situations in the structure of STAR, which is situation, task, action, and result. This gave me the time to really reflect on that experience, to be able to translate it, kind of take out company names, acronyms, any overly technical words, and then to be able to translate it into what was likely translatable for the industry that I was going to be working in. For example, someone in the tech industry has no idea what a drilling engineer is, but spending time to break down what the individual components of that job were was really important. So I was a project manager, I had built and managed budgets, I had managed a supply chain, but until you explain that and articulate it, and also give specifics to how you did that. How did you manage a shortage of equipment that you needed to get from another country into Canada or something like that? That experience and specifics around it is really important, and really articulating what you specifically did will help as you get into these interviews. I'm just checking my little script here. So getting to know the industry, the company, and the people you're eventually going to be working with is really important. And you realize sometimes people don't spend a lot of time doing this. They focus a lot on being prepared for it, but they actually don't know that much about the company. And I think that comes through if you're trying to go work for a startup or like kind of a mission-driven company, having a very clear understanding of the company is really critical. First basic one, you'll likely look up who the interview panel is before you start to interview, but I would actually print out the profiles and put them into the binder. What's helpful for this is that you can actually, just before you go into the first interview, you can leaf through them, and then you only have a 5 to 10 minute break between interviews, and you can flip through, look through the person's profile, what their experience is, certain things they mentioned. It's a really helpful thing, a refresher to do. You can't really do it on your phone, and I think it's a helpful thing to print them out beforehand. The job description is a funny one that you realize a lot of people don't read the job description. I actually put the job description into an Excel sheet, created an additional line underneath each one of the line items, and then kind of tied to the situations I talked about earlier, I actually put in how my applicable experience has met each one of those needs. And I did that exercise, it took a couple of hours to do, but then anytime someone asked me something specifically, I had read the description and I had actually come up with a situation suited to that specific one. I also would put my notes from calls I had with people that work for the company or anyone in the industry. You'd be surprised how this helps you translate your experience into this new industry. They'll tell you the job titles they may use, the internal purchasing system, or the specifics of how things work internally. There's a lot of other random stuff you can put in the binder. For public companies, I try and read the 10K or any news articles. I also encourage people to look at AngelList. If you're going to work for a startup that's early stage, it's important to know what funding round they've gone through, how much money they've raised, if there's any kind of recent product releases, and AngelList or Angel.co is a really helpful place to look up information on that. So I genuinely hope that understanding my process and the system I built using a physical binder is helpful for you, because I really know how hard it is to get off the start line, to condense that experience, to do the work to get it done. And I think it may seem trivial. It really was the most important tool I used to make this big transition. So I'll challenge you, go out, buy yourself a binder, print a beautiful and inspiring binder cover. If you really want to go next level, label the spine, and even get these beautiful color tabs. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I look forward to sharing more stories like this in the near future. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Thanks again for watching. Binders are pretty great. I know I love technology more than most people, but the tabs, especially if you label the spine, you do it right. That's legit.